We arrive at the west-facing balcony of the cathedral. Supposedly, this is where the murderer threw Sybil's body into the lake. Oh, hello there. Who is this going to be? Aburus, whatever his name is? Theus? No! You are a new character, who might be who I just said, and maybe the other guy is someone else. As we inspect the area, we catch the attention of an old man nearby. From his garb, he appears to be someone who works at the cathedral. I don't believe we've met before. What are you doing here? I'll have to give him the generic old man voice. Sorry for the intrusion. I'm Tyrion Cuthbert. This is my bodyguard, Celeste McCoy. We're investigating the murders on behalf of Prosecutor Steelwind. Is that a priest? I mean, we are at a church. This is where the Church of Bahamut is kind of centralized, apparently, so this is to be expected. Also, like I said, there was either a wedding or a funeral, so... Tyrion Cuthbert. I have heard of you. He doesn't look nearly as criminal as I expected him to be. Why would I look criminal? Judging from his thoughts, he probably hasn't heard many good things about me. But forgive my rudeness. I am Theon Arcus, High Speaker of the Church of Bahamut. Aha! So this is Theon. So who is the other guy? Was that the king? High Speaker of the Church of Bahamut. So yes, priest, or High Speaker, as you like. So you're the one who saw Steelwind here during the murders. You mind if we ask you some questions? He scans us warily. I suppose there would be no harm in that. We can see a military stronghold in the distance. We can? They must be able to see a lot from that high up. I can't see jack, but I'll take your word for it. This balcony provides a perfect view of Lake Galacrond. A lot of people probably come here when the Grand Cathedral is open to the public. Yeah, what about this? There's some sort of debris on the ground. We pick up one of the pieces and feel it in our hands. It appears to be some kind of gravel. Gravel! Did the body get moved here with a backhoe? What's going on?
Repario Arcanum!
Ooh, a magic backhoe. There are traces of transmutation on the pieces of debris. That would imply that a spell specifically targeted or created whatever this came from. But I doubt someone created these bits of gravel. It must have been broken off from something else. Maybe a golem carried the body and tossed it off, while whoever it was went to murder Pierce. Debris near the balcony. We found some bits of Earth-like debris near the westward balcony, or maybe this was stone skin. They have traces of transmutation on them. This also happened to be where Theon Arcus saw Arya Steelwind dumping Coruscant's body. God, look at all these spells. Yep, transmutation. Same magic type, so it's probably from that. Whoever it was got through... why don't we have Arya's spell compendium? That seems like the relevant one. That's all we got? Alright, you, what did you see? We heard you saw the prosecutor acting strangely here. Can you tell us more about what you saw? Did it look like she was having a psychotic episode? I wouldn't go that far, but she was certainly acting strangely. How did you come across her? Well, I was on my way to the prayer room. I always recite prayers from the Draconic texts around that time. Wait, he was headed to the prayer room? When I saw her, I first thought she was just enjoying the view of the lake. I was about to greet her. But when I approached her, I saw that she was throwing something off the edge of the balcony. You must have seen her dumping Sybil's body. You're probably correct. I came to the same conclusion after they found that poor woman's body below us. Although, what is it? I only saw it for a second, so perhaps I'm wrong. But Lady Sybil was wearing much brighter clothes this morning, or colors, whatever Lady Steelwind threw into the lake. It looked much darker. I think it was because she cast stone skin. But what's that gonna mean? Actually, I'm curious. Creates a thick layer of stone around their body. Stone layer will deflect and protect the caster from physical trauma. Create an X with both arms. I wonder if this makes you really, really heavy, because then it's going to beg the question, how did Arya toss her over the balcony edge there? What does that mean? I'm sorry, I can't really explain it. Perhaps I was just seeing things. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be, after all. It could have just been a trick of the light. Theon Arcus was on his way to the prayer room to recite his prayers. On his way there, he spotted Arya Steelwind throwing something off of the west balcony. He wasn't able to see what she threw, but after Corlin, Sybil's body was found in Lake Galacrond, he assumed the object must have been Sybil's body. However, he could have sworn he saw something darker, but he's still not sure. So either she threw something else, or she threw her while she had stone skin active, which makes sense considering the dirt. Wait, if you saw Arya dumping Lady Sybil's body, she must have just murdered her. That means you must have been heading to where we were at that time, yeah? Oh, were you praying there with Lord Pierce? Not exactly. What? That's not what the guards told me. The guards? You mean the ones standing watch outside the prayer room? So maybe the reason, also, wow, that's an expression. Maybe the reason the guards are comatose is because they were taken control of, well, not necessarily taken control of, but they were given a suggestion, as we've seen Eris do, to make certain people do or believe certain things. And so they were under a different impression of what everyone was doing than we were actually doing, because of what they were made to believe or do or whatever. These guards need to come out of comatose so that we can ask them some serious questions. Yes, they told me that Pierce was praying with some acquaintance of his. They said the same thing to Lady Steelwind as well. Wait, Steelwind was there too? Yes, she appeared to be waiting for something. But anyways, I didn't want to disturb them, so I went back to my quarters to pray there. The High Speaker didn't see her fighting Celeste. She must have started her attack after he left, but why would she bother waiting? Either way, we can't exactly question those guards. Yeah, they're still comatose after the attack. Updated. Lords of the After witnessing this, he attempted to enter the prayer room, but was turned away by the knights guarding it. Why didn't you hear anything else? Actually, the High Speaker's quarters aren't that far away from the prayer room. How did you not hear anything? It must have been because of the magical wards in my room. Magical wards? Are they there for security reasons? Not exactly. I actually suffer from chronic insomnia. Hey, there's that word, like I said before. Even the smallest sound will wake me up at night. Years ago, I had some mages enchant the walls, so sound couldn't travel through them. Interesting. I can't hear anything from outside the room once I shut my door. That does sound awfully convenient, but we doubt that he'd lie about something we could so easily verify. Either way, we should make a note of this. I thought he meant that it was convenient in the sense that, wow, that's you're able to sleep easier. That's great. No, he meant it's convenient as in, it's a convenient thing to say. But we should make a note of it. Soundproof room. Supposedly Theon Arcus, I'm going to say Theon Arcus. Theon suffers from chronic insomnia and can be woken by even the smallest sound. As such, the walls of the High Speaker's quarters are completely soundproof once he closes the door. This should explain why Arcus didn't hear the fight between Celeste and Arya. We believe we found everything we can here. Perhaps we should move somewhere else. Perhaps we should. Got all the goodies.
Arcanum.
Alright. Where am I going? We can go back there. We haven't been to the garden yet. Let's try the garden first. We arrive back at the cathedral's garden and come across that accursed statue again. Man, we really hate this thing. It's staring into my soul. Then stop looking at it. As we move our attention away from the grotesque sculpture, we spot the Crown Prince. He's sitting on a bench, guarded by some knights from the Kingsguard. His brow is furrowed, and he seems to be deep in thought. Oh, Mr. Cuthbert! And Miss McCoy, too. What are you still doing here? We're trying to investigate what happened. We were looking around when we just happened to find you here. I see. You're not very happy. Are you okay? Yes, I was just thinking how unfortunate this ordeal has been. I do hope Miss Steelwind is taking this well. Right, she is his fiancée after all. Well, maybe more at this point. He must be extremely worried about her. We're trying to find out what exactly happened. Do you mind if we ask you some questions? Like, maybe tell us what the hell was going on here today? I see. Well, I'll do whatever I can to help. What goes through the mind of such a tortured creature? What is with you with this statue? I don't know, but I can feel its emotions as if it were my own. It's an inanimate object, Tyrion! This is our new stepladder.
Prepario Arcanum.
Nothing new. I see a bunch of birdies. You said that you two were investigating the murders. You weren't planning to defend Miss Steelwind, were you? If she would have me. She may be a competent prosecutor, but I have far more experience defending clients. Unfortunately, I think the situation is more complicated than that. What do you mean? Several house leaders died today. They sure did. We can't release this information to the public. Not after the news of William Frega's death has already spread. In the course of 2 months, we've lost not one but 3 members of the Pillar families, and Pierce, who nobody gives a shit about. But the trial has to happen soon, or else the magical traces left will disappear. From what I've heard, we will be holding a trial, but it will be handled privately and internally. And I'm sorry to say that you won't be permitted to serve in such a trial. Right, a majority of the nobility hates me after all. You wouldn't be able to pull some strings, would you, Oster? I'm sorry, I'd like nothing more than to give you the opportunity to represent her. But I clearly have a personal attachment to this case. Also that, yeah, you are biased. If I try to tip the trial in her favor, it would only harm her chances more. Right, I see what you mean. But even if we can't help her during the trial, we can still investigate the crimes on her behalf. Yes, I would really appreciate that. If new evidence is found, perhaps we can exonerate Miss Steelwind of the charges against her. The Gathering of Nobles. Tell me more. After everything that's happened, I really need to know. Yeah, this is like hyper-relevant now. Why were so many nobles gathered in one place anyway? All 4 of the Pillar families were present. Yeah, about that. I understand if you don't want to tell me, but this information could be vital in figuring out what really happened. No, I see your point. The truth is we all gathered to mourn the death of my father, King Olivier de Wyverngarde the Ninth. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was the wedding at first, but then it occurred to me later, wait a minute, this could be another thing. So who was the guy we saw? The one fella that doesn't have a name yet, because I thought that was the king. Well, that is something we definitely don't want to come out in public yet, so at least it wasn't a wedding, but that would explain a thing or two. That is not a surprise. It'll be a surprise to Tyrion. But that does add up. That does make sense. That does explain some things. Wait, the king is dead? Yes. We wanted to avoid releasing this information to the public so close to the death of William Frega. Yeah, that's kind of big. So, the head of 3 out of 4 houses is dead, and Pierce, and on top of that, the king is also dead. Man, nobles dropping like flies today. My father has been ill for quite some time, so we were prepared for this. Or at least, I thought I was. I also lost my mother when I was quite young. Yeah, we can relate to that, but it's still all a little hard to take in. I'm sorry. You have my condolences. Thank you. But if King Oliver is dead, that would make you. Yes, you currently stand before King Oster de Wyverngarde, ruler of our kingdom. Well, that's good. Considering everything that's happened, he seems less than thrilled about that. Well, I suppose that explains why all these nobles were gathered. They came under the guise of paying their respects, but it's clear they all wanted to get closer to the new King of Wyverngarde. I think the Fregas were the only ones who genuinely came to give their condolences. Well, speaking of the Fregas, I think you need to know. I saw Beatrice before I was knocked out. Immediately Oster's pissed. He's like, I don't want to hear it. I think she may have been the one that killed Garrick Pierce. Why would she be there? I'm sorry, I know she's your friend, but we already know she's not above committing murder. Yeah, that's true. Let's remember who we're talking about here. I see. I suppose if you're saying it, it must be so. But what possible reason would she have to be involved in something like this? I'm not sure yet, but I plan to find that out. Again, Eris literally owns her. Or something along those lines. By the way, where were you during the murders? I remember you left with Steelwind when Celeste and I arrived at the cathedral. Ah, yes. Steelwind and I left to speak with High Speaker Arcus in his quarters. What was your meeting about? It was actually about our wedding. With my father's death, Lord Steelwind wanted to finally make our union official. Oh. Well, I would congratulate you two, but considering the circumstances, I understand. And I appreciate your words nonetheless. Anyways, how long did this meeting last? I believe we spoke with him until 1:40 p.m. But Von Sanctus died at 2:05 p.m. That means that she began her rampage less than half an hour after that meeting. Hey now, she didn't do it, okay? Settle down here. Was there anything off about her behavior? Now that you mention it, something about her demeanor changed. Yeah, exactly. We were speaking of the wedding when she abruptly left. Is that when we saw her? I asked her where she was going, but she ignored me. So that's when we saw that evidence, and that was what the evidence of the wedding was. Even though it didn't actually happen yet, maybe, possibly. That sounds similar to what happened when Celeste fought her. There's no way she was affected by Mage Blight. From 1:15 to 1:40, Oster and Arya spoke with High Speaker Theon about the upcoming wedding. At 1:40 p.m., Steelwind abruptly left the meeting and didn't answer Oster when asked where she was going. I honestly didn't think much of it at the time. I'm quite used to her giving me the cold shoulder. Right, Celeste is just like, God, I'm surrounded by the densest of males. It's possible that the Steelwind the witnesses saw wasn't actually real. Does that mean the Steelwind that attended the meeting was also a fake? Possibly. What did you see? Anyway, what happened after your meeting with the High Speaker? Did you see Steelwind after that? Actually, I found myself caught up in something else entirely. At 2 p.m., I went to pay my respects at my father's coffin. But apparently, someone had set a magical trap there. Damn. What? It was a glyph of contingency. More spells for our, spell list. When casting this spell, the caster must choose another spell they know. The caster casts that spell, but the contingency spell doesn't come into effect. Instead, it takes effect when a certain condition, specified by the caster upon casting the spell, is fulfilled. The contingent spell takes effect immediately when the condition is fulfilled. So maybe like a sleep spell or a containment spell or something that happened as soon as he entered the area. I have heard of that spell. It's like a trap you can set, and you can infuse any spell into it. But it requires a second contingent spell to place that trap. Which spell was it? It was a force cage, targeting me, aha, which we've already learned. Was the murderer trying to attack Oster too? I don't think so. They would have used a more lethal spell if they wanted to. But from the sounds of it, force cage can't be dispelled. So Oster would have been trapped inside of it for that full hour. We think the murderer used that as a distraction. Because of that trap, the Kingsguard consolidated most of their attention and forces on my location. As a result, there were fewer people guarding Von Sanctus, Sybil, and Pierce. And the ones that were there all fell comatose. They can't tell us what happened to them. The Trapped King. At 2 p.m., Oster went to pay his respects. Unfortunately for him, contingency glyph, force cage, trapped for the duration, forced to consolidate forces, blah blah blah. And yet another inexplicable event is added to the list. Well, as we do. After everything we've learned, we highly doubt Steelwind was affected by Mage Blight, so someone must be behind what happened, but who? Who indeed? Eris. Eris. The game has to know that we suspect Eris. It has to know. It knows that it's spelling it out. Anyways, it seems like he's told us everything he knows. He probably didn't witness much after he was trapped by that force cage. We should move somewhere else and follow our other leads. What are our other leads? Been there. Done that. Yep. Alright, we will go to the Inquisition dungeon, but let's do a once-over on the rooms we've... Oh! Well then, that triggered something. Celeste was on the screen for all of half a second, and I thought there was nothing new. She attacked a member of the royal family and killed several nobles. Well, Alarak is not a fan of Steelwind anymore, apparently. What else is there to investigate? The laws are clear about what we must do. We should execute her immediately. No. Investigations, my boy. Alarak, this situation is of far too much import to make such rash decisions. Who the hell are you? Are you like a nanny or something? You seemed like a relative because you have a similar complexion. Maybe he's a brother to the king. We need to approach this calmly and carefully. As we return to the nave, we spot the young prince in an argument with that nobleman we saw earlier. Yeah, we need to know who you are because you're on the title card. Now that we think of it, we still have no idea who he is. Exactly. Oh, it's you two. Your Highness? And I don't think we've been introduced. He doesn't look like he wants to be introduced. What? I see you're still as insolent as ever. You stand before Sir Remus Vergile, Archduke and Royal Vizier to the Wyverngard throne, so the advisor. I believe he means advisor. Yeah, I thought that was maybe a misspeak. Okay, so that's what you do. It is actually so warm in here, one of my glasses lenses was fogging up. I would like to be able to see, please. Archduke? We didn't even know the Kingdom of Wyverngard had a title like that. Why haven't we ever heard of him before? Why are you two still here anyway? I thought the cathedral was closed for the investigation. We're investigating what happened on behalf of Prosecutor Steelwind. I see. Anyways, I have much to attend to. I'll be taking my leave. Oh, you're trying to get away from questioning, eh? Accomplice? We sense a tinge of anxiety. Is he avoiding us? Actually, since we have you here, we have some questions for you. The both of you. You should know your place, knave. This should not take long, because this is probably exactly the same thing as always, even though the magnifying glasses
Arcanum.
say there's something new, but there isn't, so I guess we'll talk. Your Grace, where were you when the murders took place? Just what are you trying to insinuate? Wow, used a big word like insinuate properly. Please, Alarak, there's no need for that. Oh, this guy's actually named Remus, by the way. I joked last stream that I was giving Monoroth or Moronoth or whatever the hell his name is, the Remus voice, because Remus was one of the wolves from Aviary Attorney. This guy's literally named Remus. Oh, you're definitely in on it. To answer your question, I was speaking with Lady Frega's familiar. Tracker? No, it was the demon who calls himself Marunoth. Marunoth, yeah. What? Why would you want to speak with him? He was actually the one that sent for me. According to him, he had some information that was of great import to me. You didn't make a contract with him, did you? Of course not! What kind of desperate fool do you take me for? No, he gave me the information he had freely. But why would he do that? Demons are supposedly always trying to trick humans into making deals with them. Again, probably a distraction. Or feeding information of some kind. Yeah, exactly. Looking back, it must have been a distraction. Even if he was feeding the information, it was probably true, but still. What a fool I was. I knew he was playing with me. But I knew he couldn't tell lies. And the information he had was too important to ignore. If you don't mind me asking, what was the information about? Don't want to say. It was probably Celeste. I'm guessing Celeste is going to end up being a child of the actual royalty. Like, not one of the four pillar houses. She's literally going to be, like, Oster's cousin or something. I'm sorry, but I can't reveal what he told me. It could endanger people that I care about. But rest assured, I doubt it has anything to do with the massacre. Your Grace, we've only just met. I can't exactly just take your word for it. I suppose that's fair. But believe me when I say that I plan to take this information to my grave. That's ominous. But he's clearly intent on keeping their conversation a secret. Anyways, several members of the Kingsguard were watching us, and they can verify my alibi. How long did this conversation last? I arrived to speak with them at 1:50 p.m. and I didn't leave until 3:10 p.m. Well, that's awfully convenient. Marunoth literally occupied you for the entirety of the murder rampage. The demon Marunoth called Archduke Remus to meet with him at 1:50. He apparently had very important information that he couldn't ignore. He spoke with him until 3:10, and this can be verified. So he was accounted for during the time frame of the murders. But why would Marunoth go to the trouble of distracting him in the first place? Why him specifically? Whoever orchestrated this also used a force cage to trap Oster. Were they trying to distract the forces of the cathedral? Or were they trying to keep certain people out of the crossfire? Either way, it's clear that Beatrice has a lot to answer for. True. She's back in jail, though. We can meet with her later. Steelwind oh yeah, you got hit by this, kid. Tell me more. Your Highness, we heard the prosecutor cast a spell on you when you saw the fire in the common room. Can you tell us more about what happened? I can't believe she attacked a member of the royal family. Oh, this is why you're pissed. She was completely irresponsible with her magic. I understand your feelings about this, but we can't say for certain that she inflicted Mage Blade on herself. We don't even know if it was actually her. I saw her with my own eyes. Plenty of other people did too. Either way, where did this happen? It was on the path outside the common room. I saw smoke coming from the building, and I saw Steelwind walking away from it. So this must have been after she murdered Von Sanctus. I have a feeling I already know the answer, but was she behaving erratically? No, she very deliberately cast a spell on me. Which once again implies that Mage Blight wasn't behind this. You know which spell she cast on you? I'm not sure. I've never been affected by a spell like that before. From the magical traces on him, we know that it was a transmutation spell. Transmutation spells manipulate and change physical matter. It's scary to think about what that might do to a human body. Are you sure he's okay? Lord Asclepius inspected him, and he doesn't appear to have any lasting injuries. We're hoping the spell's effects are only temporary. I still wonder about that. Can you describe what you felt when you were affected by it? That might help us identify which spell it was. Well, I was extremely dazed, and my ears were ringing, like vertigo or something. My vision was also partially blurred. It was as if my mind was in some sort of fog. Whenever I tried to speak, I couldn't even form words with my mouth. Well, that's par for the course with you, Badum-Tish. I could only make grunting sounds. Okay, well that might be relevant. Anyone hear any grunting while they were walking around the premises? I couldn't walk either, so I had to crawl on the floor. Well, I'm sorry you had to go through that. That must have been traumatic and humiliating and traumatizing. And did anyone take videos? I'm asking for a friend. What kind of transmutation spell would do that to him? Did she turn you into a monkey? It had to be something that affected his senses. Something that dulled his intellect? We've seen things that raise intellect. What about spells that make you stupider? You already told us that she wasn't acting erratically, but was there anything else off about her demeanor? I only saw her for a moment, but she was definitely different than usual. She was completely emotionless. Yeah, that's exactly what she was like when I fought her, too. It was like she was an arcane construct. Her movements were almost robotic. Wait, are there any arcane constructs on the cathedral grounds? No, not for lack of trying on Lord Von Sanctus's part. The High Speaker and I have specifically forbidden the staff here from using them. It would be really convenient if all this was done using a construct. It would have been like the 3rd out of 5 cases where a construct was the murderer. Although we are a little tired of seeing them in your cases. Exactly, yeah. We're done with that gimmick. That's over with. Anyways, was anyone else around when Steelwind cast that transmutation spell on you? No, she moved away quickly after she incapacitated me. And even if someone was around, I don't think I could have seen them anyways. Alaric saw Arya exit the common room. He saw a fire had started, but when he asked Steelwind what was going on, she cast a transmutation spell on him. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Maybe she turned him into a bug, and that's why no one saw him. But it could have been also an animal. Some squirrel walking around, and Tracker was all like, "Squirrel!" Commander White also said, "Hey, can we interview Tracker? Did he smell anything funny?" Commander White also said that he was surprised no one saw the prince until after that spell wore off. What happened to him? That covers Alarac's account of what happened, and we even got the Archduke's statement too. There's still one last person we need to speak to. Beatrice and Arya. And Tracker. And Miriam and... well, no, did we... No, we haven't talked to Miriam and Loth since this all went down. Yeah, Arya. She and Beatrice supposedly have no memories of what happened. How convenient! If it were only Beatrice saying that, I'd probably doubt it. But if Steelwind also doesn't have any memories, it becomes a lot more credible. She definitely has the missing piece we need to put this together. Are you going to the dungeon to speak with her? I am. Wonderful. I'll be accompanying you. What? As the royal advisor, I have a vested interest in the investigation. While I trust Lucio to leave no stone unturned, I hear you have quite the talent for seeing what the crown cannot. Well, it's not as if you have the authority. We don't have the authority to stop him, but we still don't know him very well. Again, he's on the title card. Is that a red herring? We need to be wary of what we say in front of him. We're just kind of done. We're sort of getting led here. I'm kind of okay with that. Altar at the end of the room, religious figure sermon, blah.
Prepario Arcanum.
Alright, this... I'm gonna try this again. Oh, it was you, right. I'm trying to remember who was here. Prayer room, probably nothing. West balcony, high priest guy. That dude's face seems like a different art style than everyone else's. Alright, Inquisition Dungeon. Let's do it. Hey, Arya. We arrive at the dungeon and see the prosecutor sitting in a holding cell. She seems extremely stressed, as if she's trying to figure something out. Hey, you, Mr. Cuthbert. And your grace? Steelwind gives a wary look to the Archduke. How are you doing? As best as I can, all things considered. What brings you here? We're trying to investigate everything that happened. I see. I was wondering if you could answer some of our questions. Well, come on. Steelwind, I know your situation is pretty grim right now, but you know you can trust me. You're not the person I'm worried about. At this moment, I don't even know if I can trust myself. What? Well, she would say that if she's worried about the Mage Blight. Ceiling has a barred window, 3-story drop. You've seen all these.
Prepario Arcanum.
Literally all the same old crap. What happened? We heard that you don't have any memories of what happened. I had a lot to drink that day. Is this true? It is. No matter how much I try, I can't recall anything. What is the last thing you remember? I believe I was leaving my meeting with the High Speaker and His Majesty. After the meeting, I was planning to return to the nave to speak with my father, but I suddenly felt extremely nauseous. Yeah, she came to the prayer room. We saw her. I thought some fresh air might help me feel better, so I went to the balcony. The one over Lake Galacrond? Are we going to mention the fact that we saw her in the prayer room? Because who wandered in there? Yes, that one. The last thing I remember was losing consciousness as I looked at the lake. And did you cast any magic before this happened? No, I didn't. Are you sure you don't remember anything after that? I don't. All I remember is waking up to the sound of someone sobbing. It was Celeste. She was crying over your unconscious body, Mr. Cuthbert. Yep. So, just waking up next to Pierce's dead body. Arya Steelwind has no memories of what happened after she left her meeting with Theon and Oster, and that lines up with what Theon and Oster said as well. After she left the meeting, she began heading to the nave to meet with her father. However, she suddenly felt nauseous, went to the western balcony. Later regained consciousness in the prayer room. Man, she went out of her way to get Von Sanctus. Across the whole damn map. Let's see. Where was this meeting at? High Speaker's quarters. Okay. Oh, there's the balcony. The balcony is just a room. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. But I guess these are our locations. This is still a garbage map. Alright. Moving on. Magic that can affect the mind. Or just Eris doing shit. I feel like we've completely ruled out Mage Blight, so I doubt that's why you can't remember anything. Are there any spells that can specifically modify or destroy people's memories? It would certainly explain a lot of this. No, arcane spells can only affect the physical world. But throughout history, mages have attempted to develop spells that can affect the mind, so this paints a giant red circle around Eris, because we know Eris can mess with people's brains. You thought the balcony was a roof. I mean, it's a balcony. I'm just gonna roll with it. The balcony is in that area. Again, it's a crap map. But throughout history, mages have attempted to develop spells that can affect the mind. There's no recorded history of any of them succeeding, but you're assuming that arcane spells are the only type of magics that exist. What? I think you observed it already. There are magical creatures in this world that don't use arcane magic. Isn't that right, Mr. Cuthbert? What? Does he know about the Eye of Horus? I'm not sure what you're trying to imply. Don't take me for a fool. Several of my associates attended Frigga's trial, and they all heard what that demon referred to you as. Heavens, board. Well, the cat's out of the bag. If I learned that Lumina had anything to do with this, Your Grace, I'm not an agent of the theocracy. And even if what you're saying is true, I wasn't the one who manipulated Steelwind's memories. But I suppose you raise a good point. If something affected Steelwind's memories, it wasn't necessarily an arcane spell. In fact, it couldn't have been an arcane spell. It was definitely something else. You're probably right. Which proves that I'm responsible for the murders. How does that track? I'm not following that logic. Yeah, Nani? Explain this. Oh, what she's saying is that she was manipulated, which means she was physically responsible, even if she wasn't mentally responsible. You just said that you don't have any memories of what happened. Why are you so convinced that you're responsible for this? I told the Inquisition already. I saw Beatrice before I passed out. She's clearly involved in this somehow. There's more to this than you realize, Mr. Cuthbert. For the past few months, the Inquisition and I have been investigating a string of seemingly unrelated murders, so again, we heard about this from Orium in Case 2, and we are now following up on that. During each of those cases, we were able to apprehend the perpetrator without issue. But there was always something off about them during questioning. The murders were always abnormally gruesome and passionate, and each of the perpetrators said the same thing. They all said that they had no choice. No choice. Cases like this have been occurring throughout Wivengard, and very little connects the perpetrators to each other. All except one thing. Each of them acted as if someone had controlled them against their will. They were probably just desperate. Most murderers try to make excuses after they've been caught. They could even just be in complete denial. Orium said the same thing, but these cases were far too similar for me to ignore. I wondered if they were telling the truth. Perhaps each of these murders was committed by an unknown party. I didn't have any concrete evidence, but I knew I was getting closer to something. Tell me about the purple mark. Yeah, the purple conspiracy! Hey, listen. I don't know nothing about this, alright? Whatever you got on purple, I deny all knowledge. I may want to go sign up depending on what I hear, but as of right now, I am unassociated with this. I just want to say that for the record. Please don't arrest me. Steelwind, I don't mean to be rude, but this sounds completely insane. You don't even have any physical evidence to prove these murders are connected. There's one piece of evidence, but it's hardly concrete. The purple mark? But it does tie each of these cases together. She takes out a small parchment from her pocket and shows it to you. How do you still have things on you? Celeste? The purple mark. Ooh, that's interesting. I like that. It is a purple symbol. So is this the symbol that was on the headmaster's desk? Several of the people we arrested had an item with this symbol on it. None of them could remember where it came from, or even what it was. Oh, did she discover this on her after the murders? But they all somehow knew that it was called the purple mark. Well, it's a purple mark, so, you know. But there has to be an explanation for this. It could just be some esoteric superstition that we don't know about. If that's true, then ask yourself one thing. Where did I get this parchment from? Ah, there we go. So maybe a component of Eris controlling someone is she has to get this on your person. Purple tattoo. Well, it's not quite a tattoo. We don't mean... Oh, you don't mean... I found it in my pocket after I was properly confined. Whoever I've been chasing must have left it there to taunt me. Or control you. For all I know, they could have controlled my body and forced me to draw this symbol myself. Either way, this all but proves the massacre at the cathedral is related to it. The purple mark. It's some sort of strange symbol. Arya Steelwind calls it the purple mark. She thinks it has some relation to her mind control conspiracy. Supposedly, this mark has been found at the scene of several gruesome murders throughout Wyverngard, including Case 2. Arya felt she was getting close to the truth. When she regained consciousness after the massacre, she found a paper with the symbol in her pocket. I don't want to dismiss what you said, but this definitely won't hold up in court. Nor should it. If my mind has been compromised, I can't take the risk of leaving this dungeon. Otherwise, I could end up harming more people. Wait, are you planning to spend the rest of your life in prison? If that's what's necessary to keep everyone safe, yeah, you're not too happy about that. But what about Oster? Aren't you two supposed to be married soon? He's the king now, and you can't rule Wyverngard alongside him from a holding cell. You're correct, but he's always been a remarkable person. He should have no problem finding another suitress. You're not gonna like that. You feel an overwhelming sadness emanating from her as she says that. Well, of course. Arya. No. What? You're not gonna sacrifice everything for someone else's actions. Mr. Cuthbert, I am not going to risk more lives. If I were to hurt His Majesty, I would never be able to forgive myself. Please don't ask that of me. Well, that's fair, but still. Oh, saving Steelwind's future. Do I have to build a psychological profile first?
Repario Arcanum.
Do I have to Repario Arcanum first? Do I have to present tons of crap first? Steelwind is going to throw away everything she cares about for the greater good. Even if she was the one who did all this, she's not the one who's responsible. We can't let her resign herself to a fate like this. I'm going to assume I have a full profile on her already, especially considering we've interacted with her for 4 chapters now. I don't see the bar, but I feel like the game would show me the bar if it wasn't full. So let's just have at her. Time to argue! Argument. Eyeballs time. Meters. Psychological profile. Yes, I have things. Steelwind acts for the greater good of the kingdom, regardless of the amount of suffering she must endure in doing so. She's deeply in love with Oster and will do anything to protect him. However, she's still a rational person, and we will be receptive to logical arguments. I feel like we've argued with her in Case 2 as well. Steelwind, are you seriously just going to throw your life away? If it were necessary, I would give my life for this kingdom. If someone controlled my actions today, they can and will do so again. And as long as that possibility exists, I can't trust myself. A villain controlled my mind. In any other game, that would be such a ridiculous statement. That's not the issue here. If someone else is responsible for what happened, then we need to find out who they are. They're still out there. Deflect seems useful, but that's assuming this person can continue to do so. We don't know how this mind control works. We can't just drop this without finding out what really happened. That seems more reaching. I don't think she's going to care about that. Deflect? Nope. It's not the issue here. If someone else is responsible, we need to find out who they are. They can still be out there. If that's true, then you are fully capable of finding that out yourself. As I said, I have no memories of what happened. I'm sure one day you'll be able to find out what happened. But you'll already have lost everything by then. Whoops. What about doubt? Yeah, okay. I didn't think it was going to be the third one. But that's assuming this person can continue to do so. You said so yourself. You haven't found any evidence to prove your theory. We don't know how this mind control works, and we don't have enough information. We can't just drop this without finding out what really happened. I wonder where Eris actually is. Where did she go to? Did she make Beatrice cast invisibility on her so she could just waltz on out? Bloop. I suppose you're right, but I doubt there was any goal to this. The person responsible is just a sadistic killer. Oh, I don't think so. I've been investigating these murders for months, and I've never been able to find any personal clues as to who the perpetrator is. I wonder what the meaning behind the previous murders was. Like, what was the point to them? Why do that? There's no way to connect them to this. Whoever did this was a sadistic individual who wanted to cause as much suffering as possible. I don't know about that. The fact that they chose the targets they chose. How do I address that, though? Letter from Garrett Pierce. Testimony. Blah, blah, blah. Done. This is curious. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Just skimming over everything. Spell compendium, whatever. That's not necessary. Testimony, soundproof room. What about this, though? Things like this, where you could have killed him but didn't. Da-da-da-da-da. I'm gonna try this. I'm a little bit fuzzy on this one, but this might work. Yeah, okay, good. That's not true, Steelwind. Whoever did this had very specific targets in mind. Both Prince Alaric and the High Speaker saw you when the murders were being committed. Not to mention, they set a trap for Oster. What? Yeah, I'm not sure she knew about that. Let's assume that someone was controlling you. They wouldn't have let Alaric, Arcus, or Oster alive if they were trying to kill as many people as possible. I suppose you have a point there. But even so, that hardly narrows things down. If someone was controlling me, they wouldn't need to enter the cathedral to use me. Well, they had to put the thing on you, right? Perhaps you're right, the perpetrator only wanted to murder the 3 victims. There's plenty of people who might want to see those 3 dead. The perpetrator didn't need to enter the cathedral to commit the murders. I find that mildly unlikely. I mean, it's got to be this, right? It gets planted on you. What was the statement? The perpetrator didn't need to enter the cathedral to commit the murders. I'm gonna try this. No, what is this? It's evidence that narrows down who's responsible. No, it's not. Well, butts. You're trying to figure out what all the other cases have in common. Well, I mean, we don't know enough about the other cases to know what they have in common. We just know they're crazy-ass murders. Because they're referring to things, they're not referring to past cases in the game. They're referring to cases that have been getting investigated in the background. They're not talking about Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. We're talking about a whole string of stuff that's been happening that Ari has been investigating independently. Some of the things I could draw parallels to kind of depends on us already having certain suspects, like Beatrice, who isn't really a suspect at the moment because she claims to have no memory, even though she's got to be involved, and probably was also just controlled by Eris. Let's see. Your mind is drawing a blank. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on a few things too, but we'll figure it out. Maybe it's this? Possibly? I guess this doesn't actually discredit it. I'm gonna throw this out there, but I feel like this might be off. Nope, never mind. Alright, I don't want to game over here. We've never game overed, but this one is tricky. This doesn't prove it either, because they could have just been moving the guards for the sake of Arya moving around. It doesn't mean the actual perpetrator needed to be in the cathedral. Does Arya know transmutation, evocation, and necromancy magic? That would certainly be telling. Really wish we had her compendium again. Maybe it's this. Nah! I'm getting boned here. Because I figured if they're going to try to frame Arya as much as possible, that would imply that the person is, well, I don't know. If they're just being controlled, they're being controlled. But still, I'm fuzzy on this. We might be looking at our first game over. Yeah, what about this? Because surely someone had to be on premise to affect the knights. Because this is not a spell. This is not something Arya did. I'm going to try this, and if we game over, we game over, and we find out what happens when we game over. Nope, we game over. I'm not going to debate this anymore, Mr. Cuthbert. This is my decision, and I won't risk anyone's life in the hope of saving myself. Please just leave me alone. I lost the argument. Do I have to rebuild the psychological profile?
Repario Arcanum.
What are my penalties? Okay, that's weird. It says her psychological profile is empty, but it still says the same things as before, essentially. Can't trust myself. Doubt. The person responsible is just a sadistic killer. Not so. Suppose we have a point. Someone's controlling me. They wouldn't need to enter the cathedral to commit the murders. Maybe the fact that this guy was getting distracted? I'm going to throw this out there. Nope. Yeah, I don't follow the logic either. I don't follow a lot of logic here. What about this stuff? Like the fact that Eris is missing, or the knight that was assigned to guard Beatrice and kill her, found comatose, things that Arya wasn't really involved with or didn't touch or whatever. You'd have to assume that the actual culprit did it and had to be around to do it. This is one of the better tracks in the game, I will agree with that. But I would like to get past it. What about this again? I don't think I presented this twice. Oh, it is this! Okay, so reasoning that someone had to cast that glyph of contingency. That's why I was looking at the range of it, which is also why I wanted to present that sleep spell. I can't remember if I actually did that or not. I think that's the logic here, so I actually had to present that again. There's one thing you're overlooking. Before the murders started, someone trapped Oster within a force cage using Glyph of Contingency. But they didn't harm him. It was probably just a distraction. Even so, this gives us two very important clues. The first is that whoever did this is capable of casting those two spells. This means that the perpetrator was a mage. That's true. But the second clue is the most important one. Whoever set that trap for Oster, they did so within 24 hours of it triggering. This means that the perpetrator must have been someone who attended the funeral. So it was one of them. That narrows down our list of suspects substantially. There's a chance we can identify who did this. Yeah, who knows that spell? Apparently none of the people that we're dealing with. And if they really did control your actions, we can find a way to prevent them from doing so again. Steelwind, you need to fight this. I can't. What? Why not? Fighting this will put people in danger. If we pursue an individual like this, they might retaliate even more than they already have. They wanted to remove me from my position. How will they react if I try to resist? They might even hurt even more people to send a message. It's far too dangerous. Alright, this is a little easier. This is 1 in 3. We can't back down in the face of injustice if we let the perpetrator get away, so we know that their actions will go unanswered. No. Let's try this one. Threaten. Yep. Whoever did this had a goal far bigger than you, and you have no guarantee that they'll stop here. 3 nobles died today, and 2 of them were near the top of the political hierarchy. What if they decide to go after more victims? Who will they target next? Your father? The king? Hey, sorry, them's facts. We need to catch them before they can do more harm. I know you're frightened about what might happen to the people close to you, but we can't let someone that dangerous get away with this. When you put it that way, I suppose I have no other choice, do I? Yeah! Win the argument the second time around. I never realized it before, Mr. Cuthbert. What? You really have a bad habit of butting your nose into other people's business, don't you? Hey, I'm the protag. Comes with the territory. Yeah, I suppose I do. Celeste. Celeste has been ellipsying for a while now. But you're right. We can't let this go. I'll find a way to dispute this somehow. Thank you, Mr. Cuthbert. I think we've known each other long enough. You don't need to be so formal. We've successfully argued against Arya Steelwind. Friendship fragment achieved. Perhaps I misjudged you. Maybe you did. Saving Steelwind's future. I know I agreed to fight this, but Psy'Min not big brain, Psy'Min trial and error. Sure, I'll take more coffee. I know I agreed to fight this, but what is it? You're the most qualified attorney in the nobility. Possibly the only attorney in the nobility. You'll definitely be able to make a case for yourself. As you probably know, House Sybil controls the legislative and judicial branches of our kingdom. Yes, my redeem did go off. Must have been a delay. And they've nominated my father as the prosecutor for my trial. Oh, damn. Let me run that by me again. I was distracted by the redeem talk. House Sybil controls the legislative and judicial branches of our kingdom, and they've nominated my... Yeah, all right. I wondered if there'd be a switch. I guess there would have to be in this case. He's going to be our Manfred von Karma? No one believes my theory of mind control. Hey, let's just keep that on the down low, okay? Nobody needs to know about that. Everyone believes that I overspent my magic and gave myself mage blight. As a result, they blame House Steelwind for Coralyn Sybil's death. Now, the only way for him to redeem House Steelwind is to convict me and sentence me to death. Wow, what a father. He's gonna sentence you to death and then just throw his axe at you from across the room. Just behead you right then and there. But he's your father! Arya's father is our new opponent. Yep, apparently. There's no way he would... This isn't the first time something like this has happened. When I was a child, my mother accidentally overused her magic and induced a mage blight within herself. Oh, well then. In a resulting psychotic episode, she massacred an entire village of commoners. Damn! No. House Steelwind almost lost everything after that. To redeem himself, my father personally oversaw my mother's trial and her execution. Man, Lucio is cold. My father values his duty to Wivengard over everything else. Nothing matters more to him than that, not even his family. I want to have confidence in myself, and I don't know if I can face him like this. Mr. Cuthbert, what is your stake in all of this? What? You hate the nobility, don't you? So why are you so intent on helping Miss Steelwind? Because she's innocent. I know she is. She would never be irresponsible enough to give herself mage blight. Mr. Cuthbert, it doesn't matter if she's a noble or a commoner. He's being oppressed by the system and she deserves a fair trial. Well said. What? I, Remus Virgile, I don't know how that goes. Virgili. I'm just going to call him Remus. I, Remus, hereby grant you the privilege to serve as Miss Steelwind's counsel. Wait, really? I will be acting as the judge and arbiter of Miss Steelwind's trial. It is within my right to grant such permissions. Thank you. But why would you... You think I've made a mistake? No, of course not. I'll serve as Steelwind's attorney, so we get a new judge? This guy's gonna be our judge dude? Oh, I wonder about that. I worry about that. Huh. This guy could be the perpetrator as well. Here to set up the case against Steelwind and protect himself, I'll serve as Steelwind's attorney, if she'll have me. Oh, there's a sprite we haven't seen in a while. Oh, she finally gives us a smile. It's a small smile, but oh, look how sweet she is. Of course, there's no one else I would trust more with this. And please, you've done a lot for me already. You don't have to be so formal. Please call me by my first name. Ah, we're now on first name basis? Because we told her not to be so formal either. Celeste is already taken to doing that. Celeste has taken your name, period, on at least 2 occasions. But since you'll be defending me, you'll probably need this. Ah, there we go. So what do you know? Oh, you know a fair bit. Polymorph! Why do you know polymorph? Hold creature. Like, what, with your hands? Mend wounds, firebolt. Shape liquid, dispel magic, Steelwind strike. We actually heard about Steelwind strike in the second case, because Miriam told a arcane construct to try to do it. Attack magic, polymorph, hold creature. I want to see these. Alright, firebolt, literal ass fireball. Bolto. Caster launches a fiery projectile that's hot enough to inflict 3rd-degree burns. It collides with something, sets the object ablaze. Did someone go out of their way to kill these people in such a way that Arya could have done it because of the spells she knows? Well, this is definitely the finale. It's Chapter 5, we know it. The caster completely restricts the movement of the target. While concentrating on the spell, the target will be unable to move any part of their body. Why does this sound familiar? Did this happen? I don't think it did. Even subtle movements, such as the gestures required to cast certain spells, are impossible. As a result, the target will also be unable to move their mouth to speak. Huh. Arya hit Alarak with something. Oh, maybe that was the polymorph. Maybe she did turn him into like a friggin' squirrel or something. Steel Wind Strike. The caster strikes targets of their choice within a 40-foot radius with a slashing force. Each slash has the might and power of a mage blade and can cut through thick metal armor. It's the ultimate spell of House Steelwind, and its spell formula is a closely guarded secret. Damn, yeah, that is overpowered. Polymorph! The caster transforms a target within 30 feet of them into an animal. That is almost certainly what happened to Alaric. The animal can be any creature that can fit within a 2x2x2 cube. For the duration, the target's senses and intellect will also be changed to match that of the animal they are transformed into. So, yeah, frog, squirrel, whatever the hell. Dispel magic. Choose any magical effect within 120 feet. The spell that is creating that effect immediately ends, unless the targeted spell is immune to being dispelled. However, this only ends the spell's effects. It does not undo the effects of the spell. For example, dispelling a shaped liquid on an affected liquid will only prevent the caster from further manipulating the liquid. It will not unfreeze the liquid or change its shape back to normal. Well, that's useless. Oh wait, that was a Burio. Yeah, we've seen a Burio cast, because yeah, that's the abjuration. So that's how we've been dispelling those illusions. Then it's settled. We will hold the trial at my home. There's going to be a new courtroom. The city of Ladon. Ladon? I've never heard of that place. Speak with Lucio. He knows the location well. Before we can ask any more questions, the Archduke leaves without a word. He really has a bad habit of just walking away from conversations. And I guess we can consider ourselves lucky. Even if it's unorthodox, this situation will let us approach this like any other trial. We have no idea what we're in for when we agreed to this, and what proceeded next would be unlike any trial we'd ever been in. But even so, we persevered as we'd always done in the name of justice, regardless of what we'd have to sacrifice to do so. Uh-oh. Sure, I'll save my progress. What does our courtroom look like? Whoa! That's where we're going to be holding the trial? Damn.